you for a lifetime underneath the moonlight. Cause I don't want us to go. No, I don't want us to go. Yeah, you could be my lifeline, you could be my sunshine. In a world so full of pain, can you make it go away? Used to be so sad that love was lost, but now it's here to stay. Yeah, I used to be uncomfortable, but look at me today. Never thought I'd find someone like you, someone to show the way. But now I know you're the answer to my prayer. You and me must be right. Something's in the air, I can feel it now. You and me must do something right. We can't get enough of us. You and me every night, aiming for the stars with the love so bright. You and me must do something right. Baby, I believe in us. I believe in you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me, yeah. I believe in you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me, yeah. I'm sorry for the burden, sorry I was hurting, but my scars are almost healed. Yeah, my scars are almost healed. Yeah, I'm feeling like a child now. Everything's alright now, and it's all because of you. You made the flower in me bloom. Used to be afraid of everything, but now there's no more fear. Yeah, I used to let nobody in and hide my face with tears. But we thought of you as someone who can love someone like me. But I was wrong, baby, now I believe. You and me must be right. Something's in the air, I can feel it now. You and me must do something right. We can't get enough of us. You and me every night, aiming for the stars with the love so bright. You and me must do something right. Baby, I believe in us. I believe in you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me, yeah. I believe in you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me, yeah. You and me must be right. Something's in the air, I can feel it now. You and me must do something right. We can't get enough of us. You and me every night, aiming for the stars with the love so bright. You and me must do something right. Baby, I believe in us. I believe in you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me, yeah. I believe in you and me, you and me, you and me, you and me, yeah.
Yay! Yay! Hmm. 3, 2, 1. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Danae Show. I am Danielle Danea, aka Danae, and I've got a lot to say. So let's get into it. White kids have no shame. Let's talk about it. So I 100% believe this. We know this to be true. And when I say we, the Black community, other communities, I'm sure notice it as well. They just have this confidence. There's no shame. There is no remorse. There is no guilt. You know, they say what they say. They do what they do with their whole chest. No thought of how other people feel about it. Seems like they just do what they want to do, and you know, think it's okay. It's really the Caucasian audacity, the caucasity, some of us would say. Yeah, it's very prevalent in our community, and I just wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk about and throwing a question as to why that is. What makes these white kids feel like they can do certain things that we deem to be very disrespectful, or we deem to be, very extreme when it comes to how they respond to certain situations and stuff like that. So, yeah. But before we enter that, let me be clear. I'm talking about white Americans or so. Like in other countries, I feel like, white is a very Americanized thing, race, black, white. When other countries come here from America, they're like, they don't know if they identify as white or black because it's not a thing that other countries say or accept. It's very American, like I said. So I'm talking about white people who may have ancestry in other countries but have been here for a good amount of time, and adapt the American culture. And yeah, it's those type of kids. I'm not talking about because I had to make the distinction because I've seen Italian kids and they act completely different. The respect factor is absolutely there. And I'm talking about Italians that kind of moved here recently. Their parents, still speak Italian, stuff like that. They have a respect for their elders. They do not act like the kids I'm talking about. So again, had to make that distinction in there. But yeah, and I also want to put out an example of this type of disrespect in case you don't know what I'm talking about. I doubt you don't, but I will anyway. So you guys remember that movie, Home Alone? Iconic movie, a movie you watch every Christmas time with your family or even alone because it's just that good. Remember the scene that Kevin McAllister, the character Kevin McAllister, who was played by Macaulay Culkin. He there's a scene where he gets in trouble with his mom, and they're walking up the stairs, heading to the basement to punish him for acting so bad, right? So badly. And she tells him to go up the stairs or get upstairs, and he goes, "I am upstairs, you dummy." And in that moment, I remember watching that for the first time. I was just like, oh my goodness, did he just say that to his... Because technically, he wasn't wrong. Technically, they were upstairs, but obviously she was talking about going upstairs to the basement. But it was not just what he said. It's the way he said it that was disrespectful. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I couldn't even, most black people couldn't even fathom saying something like that. Or even thinking something like that, because we will get our butts whooped. We will get. It's so funny. There was a video circling around when not when it first came out because I don't think Instagram was around. I don't know how old that movie is, but anyway, I saw a clip circling around where it showed the clip of him saying, "I am upstairs, you dummy," but it edits into a black person being thrown out the window because that's what would happen if a black kid said that to his mom. Typically, now this is not for every family, for the most part, guys. A black mother would not tolerate their kid saying that to them. So it's very interesting. I was just like, what is this? Like, what? Like, this is crazy. Like, it's so funny watching movies because a lot of truth is in a lot of movies. And, not growing up, I didn't hang around a lot of white peers. I had one friend that I went over to her house, and she was actually quite respectful to her mother. So I didn't experience this a lot growing up, but I started to notice, watching movies and, even working at a daycare, I noticed this, which I'll later get into a story where I even experienced this disrespect from a little kid. I'll talk about that a little later, but it was very interesting to witness because, again, it's like I didn't even think this was a thing. I'm shocked. I'm in awe. I'm like, what is happening? Like, I'm thinking, like, are my parents really strict, or should I be able to say certain things? Like, is this the normal? And my parents are the ones that aren't, and that isn't the case. Obviously, now I know, but yeah, it was happening so much. I was seeing it so much. I started to question it. So Yeah, but there's that one story, and even I just finished watching, guys, Ozark again. I have watched it around when, well, I finished up watching it. I caught it when the fourth season came out. Like I think it was like 2024. I think the last season came out, but I watched it again just recently this year, and I noticed like even the kids were disrespectful. Like people think it's like young kids that are disrespectful. I'm like, no, it's even 18-year-olds. It's even grown kids. I see it more so in younger kids, but the disrespect is there even when they're 17, 18. There's this, if you don't know the show Ozark, I don't know how you don't know the show. This super good show. It's really about money laundering, but it's a family of four: the mom, the dad, and the two kids, one girl, one boy, right? And the girl's name is Charlotte, and the parents' name are Wendy and Marty. And throughout the show, in the beginning, she was calling them mom and dad, and she was, being not that crazy. She would question them, their decision making, which understandably made sense. Looking at it in hindsight, because again, since they were money laundering, they were doing a bunch of shady stuff, so it made sense for the kids kind of question it. But again, it's the way you do something more so than what you say, and just the way they ask certain questions. It was just a type of entitlement that I have never experienced in my whole childhood. So again, shocking to see. But there was one instance where they started calling their parents by their first names because they felt like, they were hiding too many things from them. And, it's like, they felt like they weren't acting like their parents, looking out for their best interests, things like that. So all of a sudden, Charlotte, the daughter, started calling her mom Wendy, and I think even her dad, Marty. I remember specifically she was saying Wendy. But I was just like, oh, the audacity. If I was going around calling my dad by his first name, I I would get in so much trouble. I would be popped in the mouth. That wouldn't even, again, be a thought, let alone an action. Like it's so crazy. I was like, what in the world? What made this okay in this type of community with this race, and then not with us and other races, other ethnicities? It's very interesting. Again, so different that so crazy that it's night and day with black and white people, and again other communities or races, I'm sure, as well. So again, back to the question, like, what does this come from? Like, what makes these kids feel like they can do and say certain things that we don't think to be respectful? And yeah, because a lot of they disrespect their parents. It's not just their parents; they disrespect their elders or any authority figure, or really anybody can get it. But it's typically the parents and authority figures, like a teacher. They feel like they can just say things, and some of them are to be true. But again, it's the way you say stuff to people. You can't just, you know, say something you believe to be true in just a rude manner. Because again, people are people, and we have feelings, and it's just like, you can't be out here hurting everybody's feelings. Man, I'm an advocate for speaking the truth. But again, there's a way to tell the truth that connects to remember I was talking about Kanye in a previous episode. I was saying, I think he speaks a lot of truth, but again, you've got to know how to use a respectful tone, how to articulate your thoughts in a way that people will want to receive them. So yeah, so there's that. But yeah, is it? And the question begs: is it is something that's in them from birth? Is it something that is allowed because they're raised a certain way to believe that they can talk a certain way and do certain things and get away with it? Our white parents over here calling the type of things I say are disrespectful a way to self-express themselves, or call it self-confidence, or call it a phase. I love when, again, working in a daycare. I worked in a daycare for a little under a year right before I moved to Los Angeles. And a lot of the times I had to write up the kids I was looking after. And these were two turning 3-year-olds. Some were already 3, but most of them were 2 turning 3. And they were bad, and I had to write behavior reports. And a lot of the parents, would justify their kids' wrong behavior and say, oh, it's just a phase, they're going through the terrible twos. People love to use that phrase, call it a phase where everything's changing. And I kind of get it why they call it the terrible twos, because, that's the age where they're really coming into their personalities, into who they really are. So they start testing you too, to see what they can get away with now that they can speak. They're testing you as a parent. Are you okay with this? Are you not okay with this? Can I push the envelope a little bit before it bursts? Kids are very, very smart. Working with such young children, I realize they know so much at 2 years old. It's insane. So to be naive is not an option when it comes to being a parent. I mean, you got to pay attention and know that they're paying attention to everything you're doing as well. So if you're tolerating disrespect, if you're tolerating and calling it cute, them, calling someone out their name, or, not, or calling, or, pardon me, like if one of the kids call me by my first name instead of Miss Danielle or something like that, like, then they're gonna think they can go through life not, respecting any type of authority figure. Like, everybody's their peers. They are the same to them. There are no levels when it comes to authority. So yeah, it might be a race thing. I think it can be a lot of things at once. I think maybe white kids are born. It's so funny. Another episode we did, we wondered, like, is the hate some white people have for black people, is it inherently in them from birth, or is it learned later? And sometimes we think, like, oh, I don't know. I think sometimes it's they have it when they're born. People that just have this disgust or are constant competition with black people. And now I'm like, At first, when I heard that, I was like, no, I think it's all learned, but I don't know, maybe. And then same goes for this. Maybe white kids are just born with a sense of they're just entitled to this certain behavior. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. I could do some major research and see what other experts say about that. But yeah, that could definitely be a thing now that I'm looking at it, and to see that it's so common, I wouldn't put it past me. So there's that. Is it inherently known? Is it something they learn from how they were raised? Is it because again, white people view these outbursts as something other than what it is? Like I mentioned, self-expression. So yeah, all those things I feel like could be very true. But I really want to know what you guys think watching. Do you think it's one thing more or the other? Do you think it's something they're born with? Do you think it's something that the parents, encourage in them growing up? Or do you think it's because it's seen as being self-confident and being direct and all those other things? I really want to know. But I also want to tell you guys about this daycare story that I experienced with this white little boy I had back in Virginia. So again, I worked in a daycare for under a year in Virginia before I moved to Los Angeles. And I don't remember exactly what I was doing. I think I was telling this little boy, his name is Finn, literally Fin. I thought it was short for Phineas, but nope, his name is Finn. I think I was telling him to maybe clean up or do something. Anyway, I think it was something he didn't want to do. And he just spit in my face. Like spit, and did it with his whole chest. Again, completely disrespectful. I've never experienced this, with any of my other kids of any other race. It was just him. And I remember thinking, like, dang, like, whatever I was telling him to do it didn't deserve that. To me, it was just like, where did that even come from? And I had taken a really big liking to Finn. I thought he was a great kid. He was very smart. He was ahead of the other students. We taught these little 2-year-olds. It's a very elite daycare. We were teaching them Spanish. He was the one that was on it. Every time we had the Spanish teacher come in, he knew what she was talking about. And, it was great. And he even had the same birthday as me, April 15th, which I thought was cute too. So I really liked him. We were really good friends. And even after this, but it was just like in this moment, I was just like, what was he thinking in his mind when he did this? Like, was this just like, is this just in his nature? Like to, if he feels like something isn't going his way or isn't right, he, lashes out and, just decides to spit in someone's face. And I don't think I had a co-teacher, a teacher that taught alongside me, that she was actually more of the main one and I was, her helper. She never experienced that with him herself that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure. I think I asked her about it and she said that never happened. So it's interesting, to see that happen to me. And I remember writing the behavior report. I didn't want to write it because I was just like, again, I'd taken such a liking to this little boy and I didn't know how to feel about it. Like I obviously felt like it was disrespectful, but it just felt like something deeper than that. Because again, it came out of nowhere. A sweet, sweet boy, doesn't really, didn't really cause any trouble. It was just like, it was weird because it was random, right? So. Anyways, I'm waiting for his parents to come pick him up and tell him about the incident. And his mom typically picks him up. His dad, I think once or twice maybe picked him up, but his mom ended up picking him up for on this particular day. And I remember telling her about it, explaining what happened, the whole situation. And again, she tried to downplay it, like, oh, like it's just him going through a phase. She did apologize on his behalf, but really downplayed the situation. And I don't know, I just left that situation feeling like, oh, this would not be okay. But at the same time, I mean, it's natural for a parent to kind of see the benefit of the doubt because it's their own children and they feel like, typically when their kid does something, they have a part to blame on whatever it is that they did. Their part to blame in it because it's their kid. But at the same time, it's like, no. It's like a lot of parents want to nip that in the bud because, if it's happening to your teacher, it's likely to happen to you too if they get comfortable enough. Because again, kids are with teachers longer than they're with their parents mostly, right? I went to work at 8 a.m. Kids got dropped off 8:39, 9 to 6 p.m. That's a long time to be around someone, and habits they pick up. If I let the little kid get away with something like that, they're going to start doing it at home. And then, if the parent allows them to get away with it, then it's going to be some learned behavior that now they go out into the world and start doing all the time. So it's like, I wanted to nip in the bud and I was hoping that she would, but the response I got, I wasn't, 100% sure that would happen. Like I said, because of the way she kind of dismissed it. But anyways, I just... I think it's like I said, I think it's a deeper issue. I think, it's not just it being disrespectful. It's like kind of like a master manipulator thing. Because even in Home Alone, after he disrespected his mom and said, "I'm upstairs, dummy," he later then said, "I'm sorry," and said it like in a tone where, you looking on the outside of it, you're like, oh, he's definitely faking. But as a mom, it's like, oh, you want to believe it's true so bad because again, he's your blood, he's your little boy. But it's like, oh, that manipulating type of tactic is used a lot in kids, period. But again, in white kids especially, because again, they know they say stuff that's crazy and then they pull back and are like, oh, to try to get their way. And it's very scary. Because again, if you're doing it as a 2-year-old, imagine how good and how often you're going to be doing it as a full-grown adult. So, yeah, I really want to know what you guys think about that. I am I just don't know, because again, kids are honest. I'm not talking about straight up honesty. We all know, kids say what they believe to be true with their whole chest, and everybody says, kids will humble you really quick because they're so honest. And even others will go even further to say, we want adults to be more like kids, because adults nowadays are so wound up in lies. They don't even know, they wouldn't know the truth if it slapped them in the face. But there's a difference between, again, being truthful and just being ugly. And, if we keep on allowing, well, not we, if the white community, but this is happening amongst the Black community, don't get me wrong, but not as much, in my opinion, as it is in the white community. If the white community keeps on allowing their kids to be disrespectful and downplaying the situation, I just feel like we're going to go back in history, and it's going to be a situation where they feel like they dominate over all other races, and will start to command and demand power over those other races. And again, it takes us back in history, and we don't want that to happen, right? We don't want history to repeat itself. So yeah, again, I think we should nip it in the bud. I don't know if, because it's interesting, because I see some of these kids that were disrespectful, like super young in age, but they grow up sometimes, and that well, not disrespectful, having the audacity to say certain things that we are like, maybe you shouldn't say that. They grow up to be very some of them grow up to be people you admire. They become people you actually can respect, because they speak their mind, and they do so unapologetically so, and and don't care what the media has to say about what they have to say. They just say what they deem to be true, even if it's controversial. They say it anyway. There's instances of that. Again, not as many, but it does happen from time to time. And that's where the confidence factor kind of makes sense. Again, when I mentioned earlier that parents kind of use like that directness as an excuse, or excuse it as self-confidence, that sometimes later is proven true. Again, not in the majority, in my opinion, but sometimes it is. But we can't make the exception the rule. And we can't sit back and be like, oh, well, they can do certain things. To me, I don't see it as a big deal when, other people are going to deem it as a big deal. Like, we need to start preparing our kids for the world. And there's a whole lot of trouble in that in almost every community in the U.S. It seems like, not preparing your kids for the brutal world that's out there. And then it's a major shock once they get out there and they're like, oh, I'm not able to say that. Oh, I'm not able to do that. And we're in times now that if a kid isn't able to do something, you become the problem. They don't ever see themselves as the problem. When they get called out to be the problem, they turn it on whoever's calling out the problem instead of looking within themselves and trying to fix it. And that's gaslighting. That's very toxic. We don't want that in a bunch of individuals that are going to be a part of our future, raising our future kids, our future grandkids. We don't want that type of mentality. I'm telling you, you guys, you think it's bad now. It's going to be way worse if this continues on. So, yeah, these white kids. Oh, again, and it's so funny that this Kevin McAllister character in Home Alone, did this and no one really batted an eye. They made it kind of funny, again, making those videos and showcasing what it would be like in a Black community. But he didn't get condemned for doing that. And the fact that it's become acceptable, and and when I say we, I'm talking about the Black community, we make it a joke for disrespect to happen. It's just like, I hate it. I'm like, no, we should not be accepting this. And it's funny how we're so quick to call out disrespect in our own communities, but don't want to call it out in others. Or we want to call something disrespectful in other communities that it sure isn't. It's so all over the place. It's so picky and choosy. Again, it's so funny how we want to pick and choose what to be mad about. This is what we should be mad about, guys, is my point. We should not allow this type of disrespect to happen and condemn it when we see it. Because again, it's going to affect us long term. We're going to go back to times in history where people had the Caucasity to say that they're more important than other communities. They dominate over other communities, so they should have all the power, and etc. It's not affecting us as strongly as it did back then, so that's why we're not paying attention to it as much as we should. We're not batting an eye, but we should. Wake up. Wake up. The woke needs to be woke up, because, again, this is happening too often. I bet you I could pull up on Instagram and just scroll and see a white kid acting up, talking about, my mom's a bee, and I can't stand, and I can't stand her. F her. Crazy. And again, it happens occasionally in the Black community, but I see it more in the white community, and I always talk about the Black community. I don't want y'all to feel like I'm coming so hard on the Black community all the time. I was like, no, we got to talk about a different community. And so this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the white community today. So again, my opinion on it, I want to hear you guys' opinions. Please comment always. But my opinion on why these white kids have no shame in things they do and say, it's because it's learned behavior mostly. Again, it's learned behavior, it's accepted, and why change if you're accepted and to do something that benefits you solely? So that's all I have to say about that. All right, guys, please like this video. If you like this video, please comment always. I love to hear you guys' thoughts. Again, I want you guys' comments, especially about this topic, because I am interested. I'm really interested to hear other perspectives. So comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.
Aquel día el instinto nos decía que esa noche juntico no quería, que las ganas bebé nos ganaría, pero no fue así. Vamos lento, ya, que si nos apuramos no disfrutamos del momento, ya, y lo vamos a arruinar. Dale lento, ya, dile a tus amigas que hoy no vas para afuera, que estás en la escuela y vamos a jugar. Ella sabe que quiero a mi mamacita. Ella también quiere que seamos felices. Ella, la que se apresura a la vueltica. Ella es sin timidez. Como la ves no le importa dónde y cuándo. Pero nada no he hecho, no soy el que la mando. Nunca lo seré, su carácter no es de niña, que la puede controlar cualquiera. Y me encanta, yo lo sé, independiente, vamos lento y verás. Y me encanta, yo lo sé, independiente, vamos lento y verás. Vamos lento, ya, que si nos apuramos no disfrutamos del momento, ya, y lo vamos a arruinar. Dale lento, yeah, dile a tus estás en la escuela. Y vamos los 7 días de la semana, te doy de mañana. Y consejos sabes que no es, te doy el desquite, que me quites todas esas ganas que te tengo, mujer. Todo el mundo sabe que tú y yo somos más que panas, pero nos vamos lento, que el que se apura no llega a nada, no llega a nada, no.